everyone, my name is Ritika Patni. I am the founder of the Art of Health in Singapore and also a core group member of Ayurveda Day celebrations, which are being anchored by India Foundation's Center for Public Diplomacy and Soft Power. We're bringing you today the series of World Ayurveda podcasts where we have been interacting with global ambassadors, students, researchers, and enthusiasts of Ayurveda from different parts around the globe. I'm delighted today to invite my guest and welcome Vaidya Rajeshwari Singh, who is currently working with Niti Aayog in India as a research officer, specifically on Ayurveda and looks at any Ayush-related issues. Earlier, before this, she was also working as an officer on special duty to Secretary of the Ayush Ministry in India and was providing assistance on matters which were pertaining to international cooperation, World Health Organization related work, Food Safety Standards Authority of India, and several other such initiatives of the Government of India which were aimed at mainstreaming of Ayush in the country. Vaidya Rajeshwari Singh herself has graduated from the Government Ayurvedic College in Haridwar, and she also has done her post-graduation in Dravyagunya Vigyan, which is Ayurvedic pharmacology, from National Institute of Ayurveda in Jaipur in Rajasthan, which is one of the most well-known Ayurveda institutions in the country. Welcome, Rajeshwari ji. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ritika, for calling me on this platform. Very thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Rajeshwari ji, we would really like to know about your journey of Ayurveda first and what really inspired you to study this really beautiful science.
Yeah. Actually, it's just a very personal question. Actually, since childhood, I always have an interest towards health, science, and research. And growing in a family where the parents, your grandparents, they are using simple remedies or simple element for simple ailments and simple teaching you, okay, don't do this, take water, or you have to do this, and according to you follow this season variations. All these type of teachings I have just growing in that environment, and that environment make me inquisitive, that how can the simple things can manage sometimes such kind of big elements too. So I was very much fascinated for biology during my school, and I started developing some interest in Indian traditional medicines, and I started learning and reading some texts, whatever my family has at that time. But I was looking for something else, like for some scientist type of course. I just wanted to be a researcher, but my destiny, it took me to Ayurveda, and here I came to know that it's not all about the simple remedies or some Sanskrit shlok. It is more than that. Now I can say it is not only the reading of an individual or treating an individual by reading its constitution and whatever the diagnostic tool we use, but I believe it is a completely comprehensive health science which fully focused on community health.
Absolutely. So, Rajeshwari, one of the questions that a lot of people have is there's a lot of parallels between yoga and Ayurveda, and yoga
Right.
today is the people's movement.
Yeah.
Do you also think that Ayurveda has the potential to be a people's movement?
Yeah, actually, it's a people movement. I can say that it's a people movement. See, it's our cultural heritage, and it is actually it is in our tradition, which is reflecting in our day-to-day life, our living. Even the an individual who doesn't know anything about Ayurveda tradition medicines, but unintentionally they are following that tradition. So it is not about the dealing of the ailments, but it is all about what I can say. It is indeed a science of life, which is telling you how you have to live. The simple things which you can follow in day-to-day activities, like what kind of diet you have to take, what kind of sleep you have to take, what kind of drinks you should have to take, the intake of, even the simple thing, the intake of water, sleeping, exercise, and lot of you can find many things like the behavioral etiquettes in a healthy life. So it is a kind of things which you can replicate in your day-to-day life. So but I believe it is already a movement. Just why we are saying that we have to propagate that as the moment, I think a little awareness or knowledge dissemination is needed to take that movement, or I can say to take that thought to a movement.
Absolutely. That's very well explained, actually. I think personally, what I think makes Ayurveda so unique is, like you said, it teaches you how to live your life on a day-to-day basis,
Yes,
which I don't think
yes,
anybody else is really teaching. There are a lot of these fads out there which say that, eat this food or drink this new thing. But Ayurveda is
right.
this age-old science which is always has
Hmm.
been telling you uh, about the most important thing, how to live on a daily basis. You know,
Right, like for example, like winter is coming, and now our diet it is about to change. We are changing our diet, na? So it is in our life. It is already in our life. So
absolutely.
just we have to enrich our knowledge, what we already have.
Absolutely. So, this year has been the year of COVID-19, all over the world. Do you think there is a need for change in the paradigm of public health?
Yes, yes, I can say. See, like this COVID-19, it's certainly I can say to some extent it raises some question for the healthcare system all around the world. It's not about our country, but it raises questions about the public health across the world. Because madam, it's my personal view. I think because the health system, it is mainly based on the pharmacological intervention more than on the matlab, it is not more focusing on the community health. It is more focused on an individual health. So I think this situation has given us an opportunity to rethink, to reapproach for our healthcare, and we really require a fundamental shift from biomedicine centric model to understanding and treating the disease. I think the prevention model which we already have in our ancient system of medicines, we have to look that, or I can say we have to reframe that. We already had, but we have to, like every day we are just changing our clothes. Simply think like that, we have to reclothe that, revamp that. It is already in our system. So but because the you see, the seeking good health, it is always a mainstay of public health, and it is only and the that public, that mainstay, that preservation of health, it can only be achieved through the wellness and the prevention of disease. And it is somehow, and but previously if we see the past few decades, it's just became a subtle concept ki the prevention is not more than but the people are not more focusing on the prevention, they are more focusing on the treating the disease. But I think this pandemic, this has given a new approach. Even the individual is thinking like ki we have to take something which can prevent from this disease or in a future coming disease. So I think it's a public health. We need to think about the more about the prevention, more about the wellness.
Absolutely. I think that's also a very, very good point that you've just highlighted, which is also, I think, what makes Ayurveda unique, which is that, it's
Right.
not just about you have a disease and then you find a way to cure it, but how do you just not get to a point when disease afflicts you? How can you just live a life of health and well-being so that you don't end up, getting a disease, whether it's through the infections or other lifestyle chronic diseases which many people have today. And I think that kind of education is missing. So Ayurveda definitely brings that really unique perspective, and that is something that from a public health point of view will be very good to integrate, I think, going forward, which I think more and more people are aware of, like you just said. So based on this, Rajeshwari ji, would you say that Ayurveda is then a contemporary health science? Because, Ayurveda is very old. We know that, it said that it's more than 5,000 years old. Then would you say it is also a contemporary health science?
Yeah. I believe this is a contemporary science. See, it's a health science which is purely based on the principles. It was not like that the one person has coined the system or coined the terminology. It is all about, it is developed after the numerous subtle observation, conversations of our old sages and the learned people. So and there are very good observations pertains to anatomy and physiology, which is also relevant in present scenario. It is very suitable to adopt those teachings in today's life also. But what is my point here? We have to integrate some modern technology to study those things, those phenomena. How can they evolve? How can, so we have to study that the eternal science, though it is very old, but still it is existing. So we have to merge, or we have to create some interface with the modern science, or the modern science, or basically I say modern technology. So there are description of several flora or fauna which is already which we mainly use as an ingredient of various formulations. Still they exist, but some still they exist. So the contemporary knowledge here, like techniques, they can help in the preservation of that plant or the technique, or the standardization, which we call, which the new world call ki, that's a dire need for the establishment. Or so I think it's a contemporary, only we have to just make a little interface with the modern technology, or I can say ki we just make it simple. How can we make them understand using their words without deviating our fundamentals? So I completely believe that it's a contemporary one, because I am using, you are using, and we are the new people. So it's a contemporary one, right?
Absolutely. I think the the knowledge is contemporary, and like you said, the language has to be adapted to the changing times, right? With everything else. So yes, very beautifully explained. I also want to know, because you specifically asked about how Ayurveda can. You said that Ayurveda should be something that people are using on for day-to-day well-being. So can you give a few examples, maybe from your own life or your practice, that what are a few simple things that people can do to integrate Ayurveda in their day-to-day life?
Oh, okay. I just tell you only the one sutra of only one sutra, not not the whole Ayurveda. Just that I believe, I follow in my day-to-day life. You see, there are only three things: Aha, Nidra, and the Brahmacharya. These are considered the three pillars of the healthy state of mind and body. So, what is Ahar? Ahar is what we are feeding to our body. Not we are feeding. We are giving that feed to our body. Even that Acharya Kashyap, he already mentioned that Aharo Mahabhashajam, means the food is the best medicine. So if you are having a right appropriate food, you don't need any kind of medicine. So I think the food is the most important thing which we really have to revamp the thought about the food intake. And the other one, like proper food according to Prakriti, according to season, should be, we have to teach the people ki they have to take the food according to this is the season, now you have to avoid this, or you have to starting taking this. And similarly, I can say sleep. It's a very big problem in today's world, no? Because the people, they don't know what, at what time they have to sleep, at what time they have to rise. So it's a big problem. There is some biological clock, so they have the simple things, then like the dincharya, ritucharya, they can follow that. And the third point is brahmacharya. It is all about what you feed to your senses. So it's, I think, these the simple things which we have, which we can adopt in day-to-day life. A simple example, like I give so much emphasis on a food, I can say, the status, there is a very much, we have given so much importance to Agni as a
Yeah.
decisive factor in healthy or unhealthy living or ailment. The concept of Agni is, it is not about the digestion. Agni is more than that. Okay, I can say, by going through the fundamentals and relating with the modern science and technology, we can say that it is a kind of metabolism. Uh, uh, I am not a modern science people, so I'm not getting the appropriate word. But I can say ki it is a kind, we can describe the metabolism at cellular level by this, only this simple Agni concept. See, the modern technologies we are we are discovering, and now we have a new concept, gut microbiota concept, microbiome concept. And now I was reading somewhere ki now they are correlating some neurological diseases, disorders with now this gut brain axis, and the immune system, they are correlating with this gut brain axis. So I think it is we can't it is very hard, or I can say it's very impossible to reveal all the secrets of the nature in laboratory. So definitely we have to explore this macro and micro, this macro and micro observation of our own body and the mind. So what I recommend to the people, ki you just have to follow the simple dincharya, ritucharya, ratricharya, or whatever the Ayurveda preaches about these things.
I think that's my favorite line from so many of the podcasts we are recording, where you said
Okay.
that you can't everything in nature cannot be brought to the
Yeah.
laboratory, right? Some of it is just the way nature works, and we have to accept it. I think just a small point that I'd like to make there, which you very beautifully said, that Ayurveda teaches you how to adapt yourself to changing times, the day, seasons, in through ritucharya, through dincharya. And one of the things that Ayurveda Day has done is talk about this pledge which people voluntarily have taken all over the world last year, and this year also we've had many people take it. And I just want to read it out because it really brings forward the essence of what you said, which is that I pledge to make Ayurveda an integral part of my daily life, and thereby enable good health and well-being for myself, my family, my community, in harmony with nature. And this is the pledge that many people have taken, and that is the beauty of it, that we are not just talking about our own individual well-being and health, but we really, Ayurveda is teaching us how do we live sustainably. And that is what COVID-19 has also taught us,
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
can you cannot save yourself if the outer world is in danger or at some kind of risk.
That's why I just say na, like ki Ayurveda, it's not about the individual. It is about the whole community.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Rajeshwari ji, also because you're working, as part of the government of India to promote Ayurveda. What do you see as Ayurveda's role as a soft power phenomenon?
So you see, just as I believe, and like Ayurveda is our is our tradition. It is in our cultural. It is our cultural heritage. So you believe, you see, like our system, Ayurveda system, it is of great antiquity. It is not about an individual or any one book. It's a whole system. It's a culmination of thoughts of medicines which came over from various acharyas. So they at the time they did lot of discussions on this. So like the multifaceted culture, Ayurveda is also evolved over the centuries, and we think we are blessed with a plethora of traditional medicines and practices. Sometimes I feel really ki I'm blessed, ki I'm just reading this science. Like I talked, like the Sushruta Samhita and the Charak Samhita and many other texts which are almost belongs to 2nd century AD, and we have a very different, unique type of diagnostic tool, SAR Pariksha, Prakriti Pariksha. The people now came to know about Prakriti, but there are many things which are still remain unexplored. Like there is a SAR. SAR is very important thing. Nobody talks about that. Na? SAR Pariksha. It's a and many more things. You see just the Prakriti Pariksha, okay, it's a human constitution, but there are 10 other things which the Charak has mentioned. So we have to explore because it is running through in our culture. And you see, it's what I feel ki it is a sophisticated, deep-rooted science knowledge, which talks about the sync between an individual with and nature. And like you said, that this COVID, it's already just giving a message ki we have to sync with the nature. What the nature is telling us, we have to listen that. Otherwise, we have to face this kind of conditions. So see, now the people are aware. The people are this situation. The people are the Ayurveda just has provided its impact on the different people, the group of people that they are following, that they have started following the Ayurveda. And this COVID, they just what I say, I'm not getting an appropriate word. They just changed the total scenario about the Ayurveda or other traditional system of medicines. Now, I think every second person is talking about Ayurveda. Yeah, there is something, they have something that can prevent the disease. Or because now they are saying, no, it's a old age science, it's a tradition. Now it's in our culture. No, we have to take tulsi. No, we have to take garam pani and hot water. So I think it's the right time, or it is now growing very vastly around the world. Though it is the people take it's in a conjunction with yoga, but whole world is looking toward us. So I think it's and now the people, they are also developing the whole globe is so much interested in us. And I think it's the only way the Ayurveda has a deep potential for ensuring long-term health and the well-being of a mankind. It can appeal the word ki towards being natural and approach of the self for maintaining health and wellness. So it's a soft power for us. Na? Soft power for me, it's a like soft matlab which you can easily take it. So it's a soft one. Na? And now the people is accepting that without any questioning. So it's a soft power. It is in us, basically.
Absolutely. So, Rajeshwari ji, with your experience of having studied Ayurveda for so many years, and now, all the excellent work you're doing as part of Government of India, what would you want in the future of Ayurveda, say in the coming decade? So say by 2030, what do you see in your vision for the future of Ayurveda?
See, there are many things which we really need to revamp our system. First is technology, as I told. Technology, we have to learn the physiology of other things. How can I just briefed about the concept of Agni. How can we correlate the Agni with the metabolism concept of the modern science? So just we have to do more fundamental researches to propagate our siddhant, whatever the mentioned in the text. And you see, there is a very need of technology, and this situation, it has also explored the a digital part of the healthcare. These days, the virtual things, telemedicines, and virtual surveillance, everything are very these are the now the part of life. So if I see the future of Ayurveda, we have to make the interface with the technology, digital, and across the globe. We have to propagate our export, we have to propagate our things, we have to look the regulations, how can we promote our system. So these are the simple things, and we also, I think we just need a totally to emphasize the whole education system, not only at the school level but also at the community level. We have to teach them ki what is Ayurveda in their own terminology, so that now, because there is a surge, there is a interest in a people, in a community, they want to learn the Ayurveda. See, now the Ayurveda is with the Ayurveda people only, Ayurveda scholars only. So now we have to think how can we provide our knowledge to the community. So whatever the things, technology, science, whatever local traditions or communication, digital platform, whatever we need, we have to revamp our thinking to provide our knowledge to the community. So I think that's the main thing we look for next 5 years.